countdown this week, and it sounds like this.
I could be happy anywhere with you.
We'll play that song and talk about The Voice as I count down the hits with Lon Helton of Country Air Check. Right now, here's Lon with this week's hottest song.
Well, thanks, Blake. And our radio stations give the honor to Jameson Rogers, Some Girls. Each week, I'm joined by a top country star who gives me a hand counting down the hits. Along this week, socially distanced from somewhere, is Blake Shelton. So how are you and where are you?
Well, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. And I'm here at the ranch in Oklahoma. Actually, the last time you and I spoke, I was sitting at this same little desk I have at my cabin out here on the ranch. And that was the last time you and I talked in this exact same spot. I love having these conversations with you, though, because I know something must be going on good in my career if Lon Helton wants to talk to me.
That's right. That's right. Like there's nothing else going on in your life or career. Well, I actually thought you might be in L.A. right now. Isn't the Voice already on the air?
It is, but everything that is airing right now is things that we recorded, over the summer, and starting in beginning of August is when we did the blind auditions, and then on into September we were able to film the battle rounds and then the knockouts. Now all we have left is the live shows, which I think they start airing the end of November, and there's only 3 live shows this year. The whole thing's been a big adjustment because of obviously we can't have an audience
right.
In the building like we've had before, which by the way I've missed the energy, but I love not having an audience on one level because we're able to really, really, really listen. And also the other element of that is, we're able to really land our jabs at each other.
Right.
Like we've never been able to do before.
Fascinating. And like I said, we'll talk a lot more about The Voice as we get along. Of course, you do have good things going on in your musical career, which is partly why you're here, because your song with Gwen Stefani, Happy Anywhere, is way ahead in the countdown. So we'll talk a lot about that and talk about the video for it and a few other things. Right now, along with Blake Shelton, we'll get things started at number 30. It's Maren Morris. Blake Shelton is my co-host this week. He's at his ranch in Oklahoma. Of course, you're a current top 10 with Gwen Stefani. It's called Happy Anywhere. And I would guess when it came time to do another duet after the success of Nobody But You, that you probably didn't have to talk Gwen into this one.
I don't think I've ever said this because there hasn't, not that it's a big secret, there just hasn't been a reason to. We actually had recorded Happy Anywhere before we recorded Nobody But You.
Really?
Yes, and we just felt like when we were given Nobody But You, Shane McAnally passed that song along to me, and we were already excited about Happy Anywhere, but we just kind of felt like it was more of a summertime song to me. And then we got this incredible song from Shane McAnally, which wasn't ever meant to be a duet. And neither was Happy Anywhere, by the way, but they just felt like, wow, this is me and Gwen. This is our song. And so we were able to make them into duets. But we just that's how it happened. It was like, wow, this Nobody But You kind of feels like right now at that moment. And Happy Anywhere felt more like a summertime song. We wanted, in my mind, I always pictured it something we were hearing on the radio when we were out at the lake or something, And so we literally followed through with that idea, and then we just picked right up where we left off and ended up with 2 duets back to back.
Well, why don't we get the first of your 2 duets with Gwen Stefani right here, Nobody But You.
Don't have to leave this town to see the world, 'cause it's something that I gotta do. I don't wanna look back in 30 years and wonder who you're married to. Wanna say it now, wanna make it clear, for only you and God to hear. When you love someone, they say you set them free, but that ain't gonna work for me. I don't wanna live without you. I don't wanna even breathe. I don't wanna dream about you. I wanna wake up with you next to me. I don't wanna go down any other road now. I don't wanna love nobody but you. Looking in your eyes now, if I had to die now, I don't wanna love nobody but you. thing. I don't wanna live without you. I don't wanna even breathe. I don't wanna dream about you. Wanna wake up with you next to me. I don't wanna go down any other road now. I don't wanna love nobody but you. Looking in your eyes now, if I had to die now, I don't wanna love nobody but you. I don't wanna love nobody but you. I wanna say it now, wanna make it clear, for only you and God to hear. I don't wanna live without you. I don't wanna even breathe. I don't wanna dream about you. Wanna wake up with you next to me. I don't wanna go down any other road now. I don't wanna love nobody but you. Looking in your eyes now, if I had to die now, I don't wanna love nobody but you. I don't wanna love you. I don't wanna love nobody but you.
And number one for my co-host Blake Shelton, along with Gwen Stefani, Nobody But You. Blake and Gwen's current hit is Happy Anywhere, still ahead in the top 10. Right now, Blake and I are at number 29 with a new one. My co-host this week is Blake Shelton. He is at his ranch in Oklahoma. And as we talked a bit earlier, the new season of The Voice is underway. And I see that your team mentor this year is Kane Brown.
He is. And I've met Kane a handful of times. Definitely wanted him to be my advisor. I asked for Kane because, our teams that we put together are usually, no matter what you set out to do, they always end up being a little bit all over the map, and I'll end up, obviously I'll normally end up with 3 or 4 country singers, but then I'll have a pop singer, and then I'll have a soul singer and a rock person and an Americana. It'll always be, and then there'll be that artist that you really don't even know what category to put them in,
Yeah.
And so that's why I thought it would be great to have Kane, because coming from country music, he's also been very diverse with other genres and stepping into other roles. And he's even written a song with John Legend and sang it with him.
Yeah.
So I just knew that he would be a guy that everybody knows who he is at this point and respects him as far as the artists out there go. And I knew he would have a lot of great input, with art. I maybe wouldn't really know what direction to send him in.
My co-host is Blake Shelton, and he's at his ranch in Oklahoma. As we get back to talk a little bit about this season of The Voice, I see you're back in the studio, back in those big red chairs.
Yeah, it has worked out really, really well, because the voice chairs were, if you think about it, they're already distanced apart, just naturally. They were exactly 6 feet apart before. Now, we've even gone the extra mile, and now they're 8 feet apart from each other. But if you're just looking at the show, without knowing I just said that, you're not going to go, oh, look how far apart those chairs are. It's going to look basically the same as it always had, And so you really visually are not going to watch this and feel like it's the COVID era. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We've been lucky with The Voice that it's naturally built that way anyway. The only thing you're going to miss is the live studio audience, but I think there's other shows doing it where they have the big screen with, fans, watching from home on Zoom, whatever technology they were using. So they still have the audience reacting and stuff. They're just not there in the room with us.
Yeah, and I've been watching the last few weeks, and you really don't feel too much of that audience missing, I think. It's working out pretty good, actually. But Blake Shelton is my Countdown co-host. We've been talking about The Voice, and I got to say, one of the first things I noticed is that Gwen Stefani is back as a coach this year.
She is, which makes it a lot more exciting for me to go to work when I know we ride to work together. We go home together. It's a lot of fun because we met on that show, and so flash forward 5 years later into our relationship. The fact that we still get to work together, every now and then. She's not on every season. she's more competitive this season, I think, than I've ever seen her be, because I think this is going to be her 5th season, and she hasn't won this thing yet. And it's gone from I don't care about winning to now she's starting to get pissed off, you know. So that's good. That's good for all of it.
I did see she made a comment in People magazine stating flatly that you are not going to win.
Yeah, she says if she doesn't win, she's going to be sure that I don't win either, because she don't have to hear about it when I get home. I'm not sure how she's going to pull that off, but she's very powerful.
And just a reminder that The Voice can be seen Monday and Tuesday nights on NBC TV. As my co-host this week is Blake Shelton. He's at his ranch in Oklahoma. And up next is a new one from Luke Combs. And the last time that Luke was in here as my co-host, he told me something pretty interesting.
You know, I tried out for The Voice a few years ago, and they told me I wasn't cool enough to be on TV, so it was also kind of nice to
they
go
didn't.
back.
They didn't say that, really.
They did say
They
that.
did?
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, they were like, well, I think it was like, I can't put any blame on anybody for the decisions that they make at all, but I think it was just like, they essentially were like, hey, you're a great singer, but like there's no story, you know, which is like probably true at that time. It was like, I was just a college kid. That was it. That was my story at that time. You know what I mean? So I'm thankful for that, because that sent me on a totally different path.
That story, he told me that story. The three of us were together this past January, and he told me that story, and it told me and Gwen the story, because she's a coach on the show too, and there's no way around it. It's embarrassing. I mean, let's just face it. Well, Luke told me also, he told me that he kept his rejection letter, or his, letter saying, we're not going to put you on the show. He said he put that in his dorm room in college, and he hung it on the wall, to push him on, something to fight for, I don't know if he still has that letter or not, but if he does, I think he should frame it and put it next to his first triple platinum album that he has.
Yeah, really, for sure. Blake Shelton is my countdown co-host this week. Current hit is called Happy Anywhere, ahead in the top 10. Of course, the Academy of Country Music Awards took place a couple of months ago, and I think they got it right when the Academy of Country Music gave God's Country the award as Single of the Year.
Well, thank you, man. I kind of thought those days had passed for me. And so the fact that God's Country, it's in its own lane, and maybe that's how it kind of broke through and got people's attention, not only fans but the industry, because it's kind of a combination of maybe a rock song and Country Boy Can Survive, and it's its own lane of music, and of course I'm going to say this because I won the award, but I was just pleasantly surprised that God's Country got some love, and I'm mostly happy for the writers of that song, because look, at the end of the day, they wrote this incredible song, and they were looking for somebody to sing it, and I happened to be the guy that said I'll sing it for you. and Scott made this incredible record, and so I just was happy to see these guys get the recognition that they deserve for what I feel like is a unique piece of awesome music,
Right outside of this one church town, there's a gold dirt road to a whole lot of nothing. Got a deed to the land, but it ain't my ground. This is God's country. We pray for rain and thank Him when it's falling, 'cause it brings a grain and a little bit of money. We put it back in the plate. I guess that's why they call it God's country. I saw the light in a sunrise, sitting back in a 40 on the muddy riverside, getting baptized in holy water and shine with the dogs running. Saved by the sound of a been found Dixie whistle in the wind, that'll get you heaven bound. The devil went down to Georgia, but he didn't stick around. This is God's country. We turn the dirt and work until the week's done. We take a break and break bread on Sunday, then do it all again, 'cause we're proud to be from God's country. I saw the light up in. When it's my time, lay me 6 feet deep in God's country.
My co-host Blake Shelton with a number one from last year. That's God's Country. And listen, Blake, before we leave the song, I see that you're turning that into a TV show for NBC.
Well, when you say that I am, that's a little bit of a stretch.
Well, it says here you're executive producer.
They just allow me to just have input creatively as far as the storyline goes and things like that, where I think that I can bring things to the table that maybe aren't as thought of in Hollywood anymore, you know, which is middle America, just as long as we're being completely honest. And so I've been able to have a lot of input when it comes to that and being sure that it's rooted in something that is about us, and there's a side to it that is also far away too. And that's what I love about the storyline with God's Country. It's two different families, and I don't know how much I'm supposed to talk about, but I'll tell you, it's based on a family here in middle America in Illinois, and then a family in Italy. And then the storyline develops from there. But it involves, all the things that we love. It's money, sex, drama, all that stuff. It's all in there, as much as we can put on network television anyway.
Any plans for you to show up in any of the episodes?
Man, I hope not, unless they're looking for somebody to play Santa Claus, like an old fat gray-haired guy that can come in. Maybe I can do a cameo, something like that.
We'll watch for that around Christmas time. Blake Shelton is my co-host this week. He's at his ranch in Oklahoma, and we've been talking about the new season of The Voice that's been on the air the last couple of weeks. And you mentioned that this time, of course, there is no studio audience. It would seem to me that that really gives you a chance to focus on The Voice.
So many times when an artist, this is over 10 years. When an artist is walking up the stairs, to get in place, we can hear their footsteps, and it's usually, the audience is pretty quiet for that moment. But you always know when there's something that you're going to be surprised by, because by the way the audience, you hear giggles or people gasp. It's that moment that they're giving something away,
Right.
You'll hear a gasp, or you'll see people laughing or giggling, or you see their eyes, or maybe they start becoming emotional in the audience and tearing up before you even hear the first note.
Huh.
And it kind of sets it up to where it's even harder to not push your button, just so you can turn around and see what in the hell are you people reacting to.
I'll bet. My co-host this week is Blake Shelton. Of course, the current hit of yours is Happy Anywhere, your second straight duet, as a matter of fact, with Gwen Stefani. So, now that she's this bona fide country star now with a couple straight singles that are hits, you ever talk to her about doing something on her own that you would take to country radio?
No, the only person that ever has a serious conversation with she and I about that is my mom. And my mom is like, I just don't understand. I mean, why? Why wouldn't you make a country album? You already had a number one song, and now you got another one that's coming up the charts. Why wouldn't you? It's like, Mom, well, I don't think, it's one thing for Gwen to sing on a country record with me, and it would be a totally other thing for her to try to shift gears and make a country album.
I don't know. I'm with your mom. I think, and I'm curious just how, I don't know how much she had gotten into country music before you, and are you playing some things for her that maybe she hadn't heard before?
I'll tell you this right now, Lon. Gwen Stefani knows as much or more country music and artists as probably a lot of the artists that you interview for this countdown show.
Wow.
And that's not a knock on any of the artists. It's a testament to just how much she's embraced it since we've been together.
Girl, it's high time I tell you, no more messing around. Time to lay these cards on the table and just throw it on out. I'm talking you and me with the same street name, same last name, same everything. It's a real thing, a how feel thing. So I'ma go on and take a swing. You find a spot and I'll find the money. You be the pretty and I'll be the funny. You plant the flowers, I'll plant the kisses. Baby, let's get right down to business. I'll hang the pictures, you hang the stars. You pick the paint, I'll pick a guitar. Sing you a song out there with the crickets and the frogs. You name the babies and I'll name the dogs. Yeah. You can park your car in the driveway. I'll park my truck in the grass. I'll put a little swing on the front porch if you put a little tea in my glass. Watch the sunset from a gravel road. Kiss me in the kitchen on your tippy toes. Still loving on you when the rooster crows. Watching way more than the garden grow. You find the spot and I'll find the money. You be the pretty and I'll be the funny. You plant the flowers, I'll plant the kisses. Baby, let's get right down to business. I'll hang the pictures, you hang the stars. You pick the paint, I'll pick a guitar. Sing you a song out there with the crickets and the frogs. You name the babies and I'll name the dogs. Yeah, laying next to you every night sounds like a damn good life. You find the spot and I'll find the money. You be the pretty and I'll be the funny. You plant the flowers, I'll plant the kisses. Baby, let's get right down to business. I'll hang the pictures, you hang the stars. You pick the paint, I'll pick a guitar. Sing you a song out there with the crickets and the frogs. You name the babies and I'll name the dogs. Yeah, I name the dogs. You name the babies and I'll name the dogs. Yeah, I'll name the dogs.
My co-host Blake Shelton, and at number one from 3 years ago, I'll name the dogs. Blake Shelton is along as my countdown co-host this week. He's at his ranch in Oklahoma. And up next are Dan and Shay. And of course, they opened up for you, about 5 years ago? So it must be very gratifying for you to see how these guys have exploded the last couple of years.
You know, I remember there's one night that I remember in particular when I was on tour and I had those guys out there, and I love them both so much, and they're just great dudes. Shay is one of the funniest human beings I've ever met in my life. But I remember one night, their first single was a hit for them, I think, and then their follow-up single, I feel like, didn't do that well, and I really related to them on that level because, Austin was a big hit for me, my first single, and then my follow-up was a song called All Over Me that people probably still have never heard. It didn't do that well, and it's a scary moment. And I remember talking to him about it and just telling him that I could relate and look where I ended up, And now there's no stopping them. And I know what an incredible, once-in-a-lifetime vocalist Shay is. And I know how hard Dan's one of the hardest working songwriter, producers, musicians that I've ever met. His hair is stupid, but outside of that, he's an incredible artist, so I couldn't be happier for him. I'd like to see him get a haircut, maybe a beard trim or something, but it's COVID and maybe he just hadn't been able to go see his salon.
I think you might have to talk to his wife about that. And I wouldn't go there if I were you myself. And my co-host this week is Blake Shelton. He's at his ranch in Oklahoma. Yeah, I get most of my Blake Shelton news in line at the grocery store. But I did see that you have a new house in L.A., which looks a little different from the house that I visited you at a few years ago in L.A.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Because I think you came to the porn house, we called it. We found out, after I rented that house for a couple of years, that they had used it to shoot a lot of porn in it. But now I found out that happens with almost every rental house in L.A., so I don't feel that bad about it. But I got a great deal, Lon, because Gwen and I agreed that she buys and pays for the house in Los Angeles, and I buy and pay for the house in Oklahoma. And
oh man,
and just so you know, things cost a little bit more in LA than they do in Oklahoma. So I got a great deal.
I'll tell you what, that is a great deal. You could buy the entire state of Oklahoma for what a house costs in Beverly Hills.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
And Blake Shelton is my Countdown co-host this week. And earlier this year, just before everything shut down, you took part in Keith Urban's annual benefit for the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum. Did you get a chance to chat or hang with Keith at all?
Not that particular day. He was really busy that day with all the different guest artists. But Keith Urban was my advisor at The Voice, I don't know, 3 or 4 seasons ago. Mm-hmm. I've always thought he was a great guy. I love being around him. I love talking to him. He's so smart. And, he and I, we had a lot of in-depth personal conversations that day that I still look back on and think about and remind myself of every day when it comes to, some things that have happened in our personal lives. And he said some things to me that were really helpful. And I have a lot of respect for him, and I'm always happy to see him. And I know every time I'm in Nashville, if I see a car drive by that cost more than $800,000, I know I just passed Keith Urban. So he's that guy in country music. He's the Adam Levine of country music. He loves his cars.
He does. Blake Shelton is my Countdown co-host this week, and up next at number 7 is Hardy. Of course, he was one of the writers on your big hit, God's Country.
Yep.
Do you know Hardy at all?
I do know Hardy. He actually came out one night and jumped on stage and surprised the audience on tour. I recorded a song that he wrote called Hell Right that was actually the follow-up to God's Country. And I invited Hardy to come out here to Oklahoma to the ranch to be a part of the video. I really like the guy, and he's so different. He's not like anybody else. Mm-hmm. I texted him about a month or so ago, I think, because I saw a chart and I saw where he's got this song climbing the charts. In fact, it was a song that, Happy Anywhere they were kind of going back and forth.
Right.
But I texted him and I just said, man, I don't know what this might mean to you, but I just wanted to say congratulations, and I'm glad, from an artist standpoint, that you got yourself a hit song. It looks like, man, because I know he's worked really hard at it, and I think he's probably felt maybe a little bit defeated not getting that right song that's broken through yet until now, and I would say he for sure has one now, and it makes me happy to see for him.
And I think you're right, he does have one here, and we're talking. Blake Shelton is my Countdown co-host, and you and Gwen happen to be next on the countdown at number 6, and Happy Anywhere just seems like the perfect song for you two.
Thank you, man. It truly is, because she comes to Oklahoma, and it's not like this now, but at first she had to have felt like, where am I? What is this place? There's, this is not how she grew up. And the same with me. I go to LA and it's like, what is this place? Like, how do I fit in here? And I would still feel that way if she wasn't there, and I think the same thing with her when she comes to Oklahoma. It's just, that's what completes the journey for us. Is it's just, as long as we're together, it really doesn't matter.
I guess the people on ranches in Oklahoma don't always show up in fishnet stockings and white boots, huh?
That's true. That's very true. We love it when they do.
Yeah.
I've always been a rolling stone with a reckless streak. Yeah, the grass never gets too grown underneath my feet. City lights, southern stars, no such thing as gone too far. I'm running wide open. I was born with my feet in motion. Since I met you, I swear I could be happy anywhere. Any map My home's wherever your heart is. I'm running wide open. I was born with my feet in motion. But since I met you, I swear I could be happy anywhere. Any mapped out location, you're always my destination. You're the only thing that I'm chained to. I could be happy anywhere. I could be happy anywhere with you. So girl, I hope you know, wherever you go, I know. I'm running wide open. I was born with my feet in motion. But since I met you, I swear I could be happy anywhere. Any mapped out location, you're always my destination. You're the only thing that I'm chained to. I could be happy anywhere. I could be happy anywhere with you. I could be happy anywhere with you.
My co-host Blake Shelton, along with Gwen Stefani, up a couple to number 6, Happy Anywhere. My co-host is Blake Shelton, who is at his ranch in Oklahoma, and I want to talk a little bit about the video for your song Happy Anywhere. You know, in it we see that Gwen has really adapted to your lifestyle, you know, whether it's the four-wheeling or the boats or the outdoor stuff. But I'm curious about what have you had to do to adapt to her lifestyle? What has she had you do?
You know, there hasn't been a lot. You know, when we first got together, there was a few parties and things that we went to that it's not that I would have ever avoided them. It's that I would have never been invited to them. You know, there was a few parties where I was looking around, like dinner parties and things, where it's going, wow, I'm sitting across the table from Mick Jagger.
Well, I'm curious about your conversation with Mick Jagger.
You know, I was smart enough to shut up and listen. It was one of those nights where he decided that he wanted to tell a few stories. I felt so small that I wasn't even about to, not because he made me feel that way, it's because it's Mick Jagger. Mm-hmm. I may have said hello and goodbye. I just kind of sat and listened like a scared child in the room, you know. It was really cool.
And there they are. The top 30 country hits in the USA is compiled by Country Air Check. My co-host has been Blake Shelton, who's at his ranch in Oklahoma. And any idea at all when you'll be back on tour? Are you going to tour in 2021 if you can?
Hey, Lon, remember when we used to do this show and we'd say, hey, coming up next weekend I'll be at Billy Bob's, Texas. And now there's not much to talk about, is there? But I will tell you that as we speak right now, I'm heading to L.A. in about 3-4 days to, believe it or not, start filming the blind auditions for season 20 of The Voice that'll start airing next spring or whenever they air it.
And, of course, The Voice Monday and Tuesday nights on NBC. Current hit is Happy Anywhere. Best luck with that, and thank you so much for the time, as always.
Thank you, buddy. Good to hear your voice. I'll see you soon, I hope.
Country Countdown USA.